welcome back, guys. Today's a very special episode. Today I have Tori Manning with me. Tori, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Good.
To start out, tell the folks a little bit about yourself, who you are, and
Well, I'm Tori Manning. I am the little sister, one of the little sisters of Staff Sergeant Taylor Hoover, who was killed in Afghanistan during the disastrous withdrawal back in 2021.
got to be a hard thing.
Yes.
I couldn't imagine what you guys have went through, what you're going through. My heart's out to you. I know the whole country's hearts are out to you guys, and thank you for his sacrifice. We thank him. I don't think there'll never be enough done to honor those who have served and lost their life.
Right.
We got you on here today. We're gonna talk a little bit about Taylor. We're gonna let you tell a story, try to bring some memory and some honor to him, and just allow people to see what happened and who it really affected.
Okay.
This there's people behind in those uniforms, and I think that story deserves to be told.
Yes. I agree.
So I'm just going to hand it over to you right now. You just wherever you want to start, and
Okay.
we'll go from there.
Well, I guess I'll start with me and my brother, my sister, my brother was born in Memphis, Tennessee, but we were raised in Salt Lake City, Utah, or Sandy, Utah, just outside of Salt Lake. Grew up there, went to high school, all that there. He was a football. He played football. I remember fondest memories of him were playing football. That was my favorite thing, to go watch him play. And he was good at it too. And then he joined the Marine Corps straight out of high school, or not straight out of high school. He agreed with my mom that, he'd wait a couple of years and, either get a job, go to college, do something, and then he could decide. So he agreed, but it was always the Marine Corps. That was just, he wanted to serve ever since 9/11. It's just always been his thing to serve. And he's always had that, that leader aspect of him, or his guys will quote having it like a father figure, and he really was. He's always been that way. He was my father figure growing up, and as well as my sisters. Just a all around good guy. Sorry, I get choked up a little bit, but
if you need tissues, just let us know.
Okay, all right. But yeah, so a couple years out of high school, he joined the Marine Corps, and I remember, it was awesome. It was an awesome feeling, but it was scary for us. And I remember when he left for boot camp, just crying in his room. I would go down to his room and just cry. And I know this is really weird, but I sniff his clothes, and I just, it was terrible because, like I said, he was my father figure. So, I was never not around him or, doing something with him. I was the kid that always bugged my brother. I had to go with him with his friends to hang out and all that. And,
well, little sister looks up to their big brother.
That's right. That's right. And he's always been very, very protective of me and my sister. And he carried that with him throughout his career too. And, but yeah, I joined the Marine Corps 2010. I remember going to his boot camp graduation, and that was awesome. Yeah. I don't know if you've been to a boot camp graduation. I've only been to the Marine Corps one, so that's why I'm kind of biased.
Yeah, for sure.
But it was awesome. Just, the feeling that you get when you're there, just how, regimented these guys are, and
discipline.
Yeah, discipline.
And you can't really put words unless you see it. Just how patriotic in that moment it feels to be an American.
Right. Right. And it's just you feel so safe too. Yeah. It's the safest place in the world, right there on that parade deck, And but yeah, he graduated boot camp, and
now, is the Marine something he talked about doing from a young age?
Oh yeah. He wanted to be the best of the best, so it always had to be
Marines.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. But yeah, graduation, and then he got stationed in 29 Palms, California. Just straight Mojave Desert. And it was like a love-hate relationship. He got like the best training that he could there, but he hated it. But I do remember we have some fond memories because we were still living in Utah at the time. So
Okay.
from there, from where we lived, driving to there was only like an 8-hour drive. So it wasn't terrible. And I remember us renting this I think it was like a Chrysler 300 or something. And we went down to, if you've ever driven down there, like those roads are terrible.
Yeah.
And I remember we got down there and he wanted to drive because he hadn't for a long time because he
been
was
on base.
in training. Yeah. And so, he's going down these back roads. Luckily, it's like the desert. Nobody's out there. And he was going like probably 80 or 90 miles an hour, and he was going up off these these bumps, and we were just flying straight off of them, and it was like the happiest we've ever been, and it was awesome, like just all of us in the car and him just having the time of his life. Yeah, he's crazy,
getting that little bit of freedom back,
yes,
after being locked up for so long.
Yes. And after that, he got deployed his first time to Afghanistan with 3rd Battalion, 7th Marines. And he was with some pretty good guys. I mean, those were like the Iraq vets and all that. So he had some really, really good training. And I don't know. It was scary for us at that time, of course, obviously. But, he tried to call as much as he could.
And what year was this?
This had to be 11 into 12.
Okay, so pretty soon after he got out of boot camp, he was deployed.
Yeah, it was pretty quick.
Pretty rough time over in Afghanistan at that time.
Yeah. And it's kind of crazy too, but my husband served with him at the same time in Afghanistan, just like 2 miles apart from each other.
Thomas?
Okay. Yes. And anyways, so he went there, and he loved it. I mean, he was like the point man on everything. He volunteered, of course, for everything. Every time they had to go scout something out, it was my brother that had to go in and and do it. That's just,
well, it takes a special kind of person anyway, and from what it sounds like, he's a strong leader.
Very much
very self-sacrificial. Would rather be the one on the front line.
Oh yeah, very much so.
Than his brothers.
Right.
And something you can't teach. It's in your blood.
Right. I mean, I guess I didn't really say this, but you only meet genuine people, so much in your life, and once you meet them, you feel that. And my brother was one of those, and I'm not just saying that because I'm his sister. Yeah. Like, he was very genuine, just loving, just good guy, you know. But anyways, he was in Afghanistan. Like I said, point man, the crazy one.
His first tour was at what, 9 months? A year?
It was about 9 months.
About 9
months.
months.
Marines usually only do about 9.
Okay.
9 or 10. They don't do the full 12 or whatever.
Well, I think they've kind of went away from the full 12 anyway.
I think so. I think
enough.
That's a lot. But I remember too, he put me in charge of, because Facebook was coming out at that time. Yeah. It was a big thing. But he put me in charge of all of his Facebook messages and all that. And he was, he didn't want to see anything negative back home. He didn't want to hear about it. Like, if something was going on with me at home, like something dramatic, of course, he didn't want to, he didn't want to hear about it while he's over there. Yeah. Which I don't blame him. Yeah. You're singing,
focused.
Yeah. And so he wanted me to kind of monitor his Facebook and all that. So I did. And but he came back, and that was awesome. And he came back at just a totally, not a totally different person, but like you could tell,
a human who's experienced some stuff.
Yes. Yeah. But he was the type though that could really, I don't know what the word is, not turn it off, but he could
just kind of push it down when needed.
Yeah. And so, I mean, he was pretty good about that. He tried to not let it affect him as much, but I remember too, when we went to go pick him up, we went to San Diego, and We stayed in this hotel. It used to be like apartments out on the beach, and they turned it into a hotel, and it was so much fun. And I remember too, he took his camis and his boots and everything off in this hotel, and he'd been in those for 9 months, and oh my gosh, the smell that came off of that stuff. I was like, oh my gosh, it's like filling the whole room. Like it was disgusting. Yeah. And I was like, you need to go burn that stuff. He ended up burning it because it was so bad.
Had some salty fatigue.
Yes. I was like, golly, man. And I was like, are your feet falling off, rotting off at this point? Gosh.
Take the socks off and they just stand straight up.
I was like, golly. I gave him crap for that for a long time.
As you should.
Yeah. It was bad. But no, it was, and that's a lot of my fondest memories, whenever me and my sister, because I was still in high school, and my sister, she would have been in middle school, and every time, Mom was like, okay, where you want to go on vacation? And be like, California, I want to go see Bubba. Yeah. His nickname's Bubba, by the way. Okay. If I called him Taylor, it was a big deal. He was going to beat me up.
Okay, so it's Bubba.
It's Bubba, yes. And that's all we wanted to do was to go see him. And now it's kind of hard. I don't think I can ever go back to California because of it. But that was him. Everything we did was in California, and
it's a hard subject to talk about, and I'm sure it is for you too. So fast forward a little bit. How many tours has he done before this last one?
So he did a total of 3 to Afghanistan. So that was his 3rd one in Afghanistan. But he did 2 MEUs in between there.
Okay.
So,
in the months prior to this last deployment, did they give him a notice, or was it kind of like you're going, or how did you guys know that he was getting ready to go back over?
So what actually happened was he was, I can't remember if they were actually sent to Saudi Arabia.
Okay.
Or like his whole battalion. I can't remember the exact where they were supposed to be, but I know that his platoon or his, so he was in 2nd Battalion, 1st Marines, Echo Company.
Okay.
And he was a staff sergeant, so he was in charge of a platoon.
Yeah.
And his guys, out of all of them, got chosen to be on a boat.
Okay.
Out in the ocean. Not quite sure exactly what happened out there. I know there was a few.
They just had to go on a boat.
Yeah, there was a few ordeals out there, but basically just kind of being out there, being security kind of, while the rest of the battalion, I think, was stationed in Saudi Arabia. Okay. But he was out in the ocean, and I think it was July is when they got word that they were going to go help in Afghanistan. So that wasn't like the initial, you're going to Afghanistan. Yes. That wasn't it. They were going, I think, just stationed out there.
So they were already somewhere, and then they got word, hey, you guys are going to come over here. You're going to help with. And at this time, July, that's pretty close to when they're starting to plan this withdrawal. And
right.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
In the coming weeks and stuff, did you hear from him before he went?
Yeah.
I know sometimes they keep that pretty.
Yeah. Tight. No, he was, and I think nowadays it's not as bad like when he first deployed, his first time to Afghanistan,
communications were shit.
Yeah. He was able to talk to us a little bit more. And I do remember FaceTiming him while he was on the boat and all that. Sorry, I'm rolling away here.
No, you're fine. You also got some water there if you need it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
But yeah, he FaceTimed us a couple of times, and but no, I could message him. I Facebook messaged him and stuff all the time, and
so you kept in contact pretty well.
Yeah.
So July comes and they go to Afghanistan, correct? Whenever he gets there, were you in talks with him about how was it over there?
So that is the time he didn't have a lot of time in service, because they had what's that thing that blocks the signals?
Yeah,
and
they
all
have
that.
those radio blockers.
Yeah, that blocks all that. But when he could, he tried to get word out. But I do remember him messaging Mom and saying, "Mom, this is like the worst I've ever seen it. Yeah. Like I've never seen basically humanity like this."
Yeah.
And he also said, I now know that our upper command cares nothing about us.
Yeah.
So. But yeah, he could get word out every now and then.
Okay, good. Leading up to the days of the attack on the base, and that was in Kabul, right?
It was the airport,
It
Kabul
was Kabul
airport.
Airport. Okay.
Yep.
Kind of take us through what you know about what went down that day, if you don't mind.
So I do know at the time, an attack was imminent. They, I mean, it's the Taliban.
Yes. And they saw our weak point. We were pulling out, and they had the higher ground at that time. They were attacking us.
Right, basically. So I know that the guys on the ground, they knew, and they got word that an IED was coming.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't know when, but it was coming. So it was Golf Company of 2-1. Golf Company was manning the gate at the time. I guess they kind of switched out.
Mm-hmm.
Company switched out, just manning the gates, and Golf Company was out there at the time. And my brother, his guys were. I wish I could show you a map, but so I don't know if you've seen it.
Mm-hmm.
There's like a sniper tower here,
yep.
And then you've got the canal here. So Golf Company was standing here, manning the gate, and my brother was kind of back over here, and he came out to see where he could help and all that, and he and this is told by Tyler Andrews. I don't know if you've heard of him. So he's one of the wounded that actually survived. He's now a double amputee. He was actually like really close to my brother at the time of the bombing. Anyway, so my brother notices somebody in the crowd, a man with holding up a sign saying something about one of the guys on the sniper teams. And so my brother, comes back over and goes up to the snipers and was like, "Hey, are you guys looking for this guy?" And he, it was Tyler. Tyler Andrews is one of the snipers, and he was like, "Yeah, I'll come down. I'll help you pull him out." So my brother goes back out there, and they go to pull this interpreter out. He's worked with. I guess the interpreters worked with our guys for a long time, and
they were the first ones on the hit list for the Taliban when all that
went
down.
Right, yeah, and so I guess they pull this guy out, and he was like, "Well, wait, or my brother and Tyler were like, okay, well, let's get you out of here, and but the guy was like, well, wait, my family, and they were like, well, where's your family? And there's thousands of people in this canal. There's just no way. And he's like, they're back there, and I don't remember how far Tyler said back, but pretty far. Like there was no way they were getting them out. And I guess at this point, I don't know if my brother had walked away. I don't know. I'm not quite sure where he ended up, but that's when the bomb went off. And they say that this guy. So, like I said, there's you've got the Marine standing here, and there's like kind of like a wall in between the canal and all that, and then there's a wall on the other side.
Yeah.
And they say that this guy, ISIS, stepped up on that wall and blasted it that way. And so they say it was like 20-30 pounds, but it was ball bearings that and shrapnel. My brother got hit, obviously, with a lot of them, but he did not pass away right away. I guess, and this is just secondhand information. This is just, my dad had talked to Tyler, and Tyler said that, he saw my brother tying a tourniquet to his own leg, and then I also get from his lieutenant that he was like, he didn't look on the outside, he didn't look like he was all that wounded at all, compared to like a lot of them. And but his lieutenant said, Hoover, you good? And my brother winked at him. He's like, okay, good to go, and at the time too, they'll say that this didn't happen, but there was gunfire going off as well, Taliban shooting, and my brother hears that, obviously, and he starts taking his ammo off his vest and starts handing them out to his guys. And I guess at that point is when they're loading him onto the truck, and they say that they think the pressure of the blast is what got to him.
Yeah.
And obviously bleeding too, internal bleeding that they can't, I know they inserted a chest tube, couldn't really get his lung to inflate back up, and but they also, like I said, it was his brain, really.
Yeah.
The pressure of the blast is what got to him. The way that he was acting, just kind of out of his head and stuff. And I guess on the way, they had like makeshift hospitals on the airport, in the airport, and I guess on the way there, they actually got him back twice, but he didn't make it. So
I'm so sorry. This whole the whole Afghan withdrawal, it should have been done different.
Very much so.
There's no question that America wanted out of that war, but the way it did it and the people it affected is, it's why sometimes they need to understand that there is a human inside that uniform. When did you guys first get word of Bella, of Taylor?
So can I kind of tell my story
absolutely.
of that day?
Yes. Yes.
So I remember waking up that morning, the first thing you do, Facebook, TikTok, whatever. It's everywhere on Facebook. And I'm like, man, what the crap?
Oh, so you were seeing on Facebook
first? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because the time difference, obviously. And, so I sent him a message and I said, and him being a staff sergeant, I knew he's in charge of guys. Yeah. So his response time may not be very quick because he's got to handle things, And so I messaged him and I said, just tell me yes or no. Are you okay? Yes or no. That's all I need. Obviously that never came. But during the day, I just tried to push it aside, and I just tried to just go about my day. Although it just, something deep down was like, something ain't right, because usually if something big happened over there, he would try to get word out, or somehow. And but I just went about my day, and mom's freaking out, of course. And I'm telling Thomas, I'm like, is there any way you can figure it out, because he's got some guys over there that he knows. And he's like, I'll try, I'll try to get word. And but he's like, no news is good news, And anyway, so we just went about our day. And I remember I had to work that night, and so I went to go take a nap. And I remember I had a dream, and we're very religious, very spiritual. I had a dream, and it's really weird. Our grandmother that had passed 2 years prior came to me in that dream. I couldn't see her, couldn't hear her. I just felt her. I knew it was her. And all of a sudden, my brother walked in the room with her. It was the strangest thing, And I woke up, screaming, because I knew then.
In your heart, you knew what had happened.
I knew what had happened, because why would I dream something like that? Yeah. That's just,
It's not coincidence.
Yeah. And but because mom lives with us, and I had to put on a face for her, and because that was me and my brother's deal. If anything happened to him, it's my job. Yeah. It's my turn to take over, with the family. And but yeah, I put on a face all that day, the rest of the day, and I went to work and just kept pushing it aside. I didn't want to talk about it, but you get to, it's on the news when you get to work.
That's all you're seeing that day.
I've got people talking about it. I'm like, dang it, and I
just couldn't get away from it.
Yeah, I worked in the ER at the time, and towards the end of the night, I think it was 8 or 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock that night, and the lady up at our front desk was like, I need you to come outside. And I was like, okay, that's weird. So we go out like the ambulance bay doors, and there's Thomas, and he's like beat red, and he looks just defeated.
Yeah.
Defeated, and he's bawling his eyes out. If you know him, he don't cry
No.
for no reason. And I just I knew instantly. I dropped to my knees. I screamed. I was hitting stuff. I'm sure everybody at that ER thought I was freaking crazy, and then it didn't. This poor chaplain. He came with my husband to pick me up. He stepped out of the truck, and it just all hit me. It just, but yeah, I think it was like 9 or 10 that night is when we found out, because I think they were going by rank.
Yeah.
I think he was a staff sergeant, so I think they told mom first, and then it went. But the thing is, we had just moved from Arkansas up to here.
Okay.
And so I think they had to find where my mom was.
Gotcha. It wasn't on file.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
you guys learned about that while you guys were living here in Missouri?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, but we learned that all the other families didn't find out till a little later in the evening. So I'm assuming they went by rank.
Okay.
And they were waiting to find, mom. So.
And there were 13 killed that day?
13, yeah. We got 11 Marines, 1 corpsman, and 1 Army soldier.
That's well, I don't know. That's a lot, and I can't imagine what you guys are going through, what you guys have went through. What you always go through, and I know the nation thanks you. But the words are just words, people say it, but it doesn't bring them back.
Right.
What do you think about just everything that happened in that time frame with the Afghan withdrawal? What are your thoughts as one affected by it so much?
A lot of it is, it's anger. But also, like I said, we're religious, we're spiritual, and I know there's reasons to everything. Even though at times I really want to why, but I don't. It had it been any of my brother's guys, he wouldn't have been okay, and had he lived, and he wouldn't have been.
He's one of those guys that wanted to be out there.
Yeah.
It wanted it to be him instead of his buddies.
Right. And he, and he was one of the last ones with combat experience. So they were all looking to him, for answers and stuff. And higher ups weren't listening, nothing, and I don't know. A lot of it is anger. A lot of it is, I don't know, I guess just anger. And, it's sad that, my kids can't grow up with their uncle, and he loved, I had my daughter, and he was close with her, and he was the first person to put her in the ocean, and, put her feet in the sand, and, my
real close-knit family.
Yeah. And my daughter will always remember that, but it's like our other kids aren't gonna have that.
They'll just have the stories.
Yeah. Yeah.
So after this disastrous day, everything transpires, you find out. What kind of comes next after that? Does the Marines reach out to you?
So, in a situation like that, each family gets assigned what they call a KEICO. I don't know the abbreviation.
Yeah, it's abbreviation for something.
Yeah. But each family gets assigned a KEICO. So basically, they're like a liaison between the families and the military.
Okay.
And basically, whatever the military says at that point, you have to go. I remember we had to go to Dover Air Force Base, and we kind of had to drop everything and just go, because that's where their bodies were returning. But they got us a private jet that flew into Mountain View and flew us out of there. Before this, it was 2 days after we found out that we went to Dover. But our family that's down in Arkansas, they all drove up and pretty much just stayed the whole time until we left. And we did. I don't remember sleeping at all. I don't even remember eating, to be honest. I don't even.
I'm sure it's a blur.
Everything is a blur, you know. But we went to Dover. You know, had the meeting with the president. But I mean, our family didn't meet with him just because.
How was that?
Like I said, we didn't meet with him just because obviously we blame him.
Yep.
And
rightfully so.
Yeah, and
rightfully so.
Yeah, we'd probably be in prison right now because Yeah.
Anyways. No, I understand.
I mean, but we made the Keikos. The Keikos were like, our Keikos were pretty good. Mm-hmm. Like they kind of went above and beyond anything that mom asked of them or dad asked of them. Like it got done.
How was it received when you said no, we don't want to meet with
Biden? I mean, the Keikos agreed with us because
yeah, of course
they agree. Yeah. I mean, they're still in the military.
90% of the military agrees.
Yeah, yeah. But they put us in a separate room.
Did they?
Yeah, and so and Thomas being military, my brother-in-law's military, like not the best idea to put us out there with the rest of the families, just because I don't know what their political views are. Don't really care, but I didn't, we didn't want to be around it.
Yeah.
So
I don't blame you.
Yeah. That day was crazy.
As commander-in-chief, it all falls on you.
Exactly.
And if we don't have competent people running,
exactly,
the blame goes directly on him.
And it wasn't just him. It was like the generals. I mean, it was
his cabinet.
Yeah. We wanted nothing to do with it. Yeah. Absolutely nothing. And and I remember at the time, because Thomas got us in contact with one of his buddies that had died in Afghanistan. He stayed in touch with his mom, his family, and all that. And she kind of talked to us and, told us what she regretted of, not doing in the beginning with her son and all that. And I remember, I think it was her. I'm pretty sure it was her. Just her saying, take it all in, let it hurt. It's gotta hurt. Like you just gotta let all the feelings flow, and just
something like that. If you don't, you'll implode.
Right. And she's just like, let it go. Like, just do it. It doesn't matter how it comes out. Just let it, and, but yeah, that was actually very helpful. Now that I look back on it, that was actually very helpful. But yeah, that was a crappy day. And then you go out on the tarmac as their bodies are being transferred from the plane to these vans. And, of course, they go by rank and all that. My brother and Staff Sergeant Ryan Knaus, the Army soldier, they come out first. And a few more. And then, you see Biden across the tarmac staring at his watch. Not just once.
You're kidding me.
Not twice. Not 3 times. It had to be 4 or 5 times.
Like he had something better to be.
Yeah, like he had somewhere to be. And I was furious. My husband and my brother-in-law are both standing at attention, saluting, and they're just bawling their eyes out. And they're like, am I allowed to cuss on this?
Yes.
And they're like, you son of a bitch.
Yep.
And like you can see their fists balling up, like they were
pissed,
ready to go, and I was like, I'm one of those that it's hard for me to control.
Yeah.
Once I get to that point, and we waited till all the bodies were across and they were driving off, and Biden and them start walking to their vehicles, and that's when I yelled out, I hope you burn in hell. And I went to run across the tarmac.
Good for you.
Yeah. And, but my family stopped me, of course. There's snipers everywhere.
Yeah.
So,
good thing they did.
Yeah.
You.
But
good for you for standing up.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you're pissed.
Oh, already. Yeah.
And then to see him over there looking at his watch as to bring your brother.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine.
It was disgusting.
Yeah.
I was like, how
little respect do you have to have?
I was like, I've never respected Biden, but in that moment, I was like,
we see you.
How in the I was like dumbfounded. I was
Yeah.
like, what?
Yeah.
You know, God, I was, to this day, it makes me sick.
I can't imagine.
Yeah, it was terrible. Terrible.
So all this transpires, and then recently you guys got invited to Washington D.C. I'm going to butcher it. What medal was it?
The Congressional Gold Medal.
The Congressional Gold Medal. Would you like to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, it was actually awesome because, you know, for 3 years we've been trying to get accountability for what happened over there, and you know, nothing's really
What do you
come of that. So
before we start on the Congressional Medal accountability,
mm-hmm.
what do you think, in your opinion, needs to be done? Where do they need to start for this accountability? They need to hear it from you guys.
Oh yeah, for sure. Biden and Harris, for first and foremost. The generals, Milley, Austin, and McKenzie. A lot of higher ups in the military that have all been promoted at this time, just so we all are aware.
Promoted.
Yeah, promoted. And these are people that are still in charge of our sons and daughters of America.
Yeah.
But no, like there's a lot of parts that played into it, obviously.
Yeah.
You know, we should start at the embassy. They let the embassy go. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it. You know, first and foremost, you know, everybody blames Trump for it, and no, he had the Doha agreement signed between him and the Taliban, and it was a conditional. You know, you do this, this, and this. You know, we'll pull out.
Yeah.
But they didn't meet any of those requirements.
It was a work in progress.
Yeah.
You know, they can't just do it all in one day.
No. Like, and the Taliban didn't meet any of those requirements, you know. Yeah. And to Biden, it was, you know, he had a set day that he wanted it all done. Yeah. You know. And at that time, they knew, now that there's some investigations that have come out, they knew down to the exact time that the bomber was going to be out there.
And did nothing about it.
Like, why was the gate not closed?
Yeah, they should have had it cordoned off.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And they, you know, they'll say, you know, they're waiting on the British. No. Like, the British even said, you know, you can close the gate. You know, we'll come back in.
Yeah.
Like, I'm dumbfounded at it. You know, I don't. Somebody's got to pay for it.
Amen.
You know, I don't get it.
Something so tragic as this, there needs to be true accountability.
Right.
One thing in the military that is always stressed is accountability for your actions. If that doesn't happen at the top, because, you know, any of us who were in the military, if you did something wrong, you were held accountable for that. So why do the higher ups? Why do the ones that do control the stuff? Why are they held to the different standard?
Right.
And
I don't.
It needs to be changed.
I don't get it.
Me neither.
I don't get it. And the boots on the ground actually doing the work,
risking their lives,
suffer for it.
Yes.
I don't get it.
Me neither. So you go to DC when was that?
It was 2
weeks ago.
2 weeks ago.
Okay.
2 weekends ago. Yeah.
Kind of run us through what happened there, and you know, when it was and what was going on at the same time.
Okay. So the Congressional Gold Medal is the highest award that Congress can give a civilian. So all 13 were given the Congressional Gold Medal. We're invited to the Capitol. And it's actually a neat experience. You know, and it's nice coming together with the 13 families, even if there are differing opinions on things. Yeah. But we've all become one big family, you know, because
you have a shared experience.
Right. And we're all fighting for accountability, you know. But no, it was actually a really, really good experience, and it was actually pretty neat. Like, I didn't know that we still prayed in the Capitol. I didn't know. I was fairly surprised, you know, even if it was a weird prayer, but it was
It was a very government press.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was still, it was nice.
Yes.
And I may not agree with some of the politicians that were there, but it was nice. And then
at least they showed up.
Right.
I mean,
right. Speaker Johnson actually apologized in front of the nation and said, "We owe them everything. We owe your families everything." And that was like the first time anybody's really acknowledged in government.
So that's about the first apology. You guys have actually had.
Yeah. And granted, he, I don't know how much he had to do with it,
but at least someone in the government recognized.
Right.
That can go a long way.
Yeah, that really got to me. That was awesome. But no, it was a good experience. And it was a good ceremony. If you watch it, you'll see my mom skipped shaking Chuck Schumer's hand.
Oh, good. I'm going to give her a round of applause right now.
I didn't even know she did it until after. I was like, good for you.
Yes.
But no, it was a neat experience. And then, some of my brother's buddies were there. Tyler was there, and Mitchell Sealis, who's become like a little brother to me. And, they've stayed really close to us, and it's awesome.
So within that group of the 13, the families, you guys stay connected pretty good.
And for the most part, there's a couple that cause a little drama, but it's okay. I'd still defend them against anybody.
Yes.
But yeah, for the most part, there's actually some of the families, like my parents and some of the other parents, have formed like a coalition.
What's this coalition?
So they basically have gone to government, gone to press conferences, trying to get accountability, trying to do what they can. They're good friends with Trump.
Good.
And so, it's been awesome, and it's been opening doors for.
Has President Trump, has he spoken to the families about like what are his opinions on what happened, or what's he said to you guys? Or,
yeah. So when it first happened, we actually received a phone call from him, and he talked to every single person in my family. So me, my sister, her husband, my husband, mom, of course, dad, was just very genuine. I don't know if you've ever met him, but this man, you have a conversation. He's just a genuine person, laid back, down to earth.
Someone you can actually hold a conversation with.
Yeah.
It's rare in politics.
Right.
Yeah.
But no, he has told the parents of the coalition, if I get back in, there will be accountability, and and we're holding him to that.
Yeah.
There's people need to be fired.
Exactly.
Pensions need to be taken away.
Have they done any congressional investigations into it? No, they're just sweeping it under the rug.
Yeah, the Afghanistan is like the one thing
they don't touch with.
They do not touch. Yeah. They will dodge it. I don't know if you've during the debate saw Harris, how she just kind of
just skirted away from the questions. And I'm kind of switching here, but didn't the Congressional Medal, when that aired, that was the night of the debate, correct?
It was, yes.
Do you think they did that to try to overshadow it, for the simple fact that it does fall on Kamala Harris,
right?
Just as much as Biden.
To be honest, I'm sure. Yeah. There's always a political pull and everything. Yes. I also think too that Trump would have been at the ceremony.
I do too.
And I think they did not want him there. Yeah. And so I'm sure there was a plan for all that.
What's the coalition called?
The Abbey-Gate Coalition.
The Abbey-Gate, ABBYGATE?
ABBEY, Abbey-Gate Coalition.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay. And do they have like a website or something where people can donate? Or?
No, they don't. I wish. They just have his name is Marlin. I'm not quite sure what his job is politically. I think he's a lobbyist, kind of.
Okay.
But he's kind of been like the liaison between the families and the government.
Okay.
But he gets funds. He's out of Salt Lake because that's where obviously we were raised. My dad's still there. So my dad got a hold of the Attorney General of Utah because nothing was being done. And the Attorney General of Utah got him in touch with Marlon. And Marlon was a Marine as well, and he kind of opens doors for the families to get to talk to people in government and all that. So
that's good. Are you pretty confident that if, and I'm trying to keep this as apolitical as possible, especially for something like this, but are you confident that if Donald Trump wins, that he's actually going to hold the accountability?
Oh yeah,
I do too.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Very much so, because I know that from what he's said to us, that I mean, it pissed him off.
I can't imagine.
I mean, it shook the whole world.
Yeah.
It wasn't just the nation. Like everybody was watching this.
It was another 9/11. Like, you remember where you were.
Yeah, exactly. Like, everybody knows this. I mean, and even our enemy countries were watching this. Absolutely. You know, watching us fall. But yeah, no, I'm fairly confident that he will hold people responsible.
And I hope it happens.
I do too. And I'm pray.
And I'm using the figure of speech, but I hope heads roll.
Yes.
You know, not like literally, but
no, I agree. I agree. Yeah. People need to lose their jobs. People need to lose their pensions.
Yep. They need to be drummed out of the government.
Yes.
Plain and simple, drummed out, tear their sleeves like the traitors they are. And that's just my opinion.
No, I'm right there with you.
Anytime one of my brothers die for a cause, and then and there's just, because of lack of oversight, because like you said, they knew about it. They could have warned them. That pisses me off. I'm sure it pisses everyone off. But you've never heard that. They won't tell you that on the news. No. They got their talking points that they stick to. They don't want Americans to know the dirty truth of what's going on. Nope. And it's sad.
It's really sad.
Sorry about that. I kind of got off on a little.
No, you're fine. It's all good. Some people are like, I don't really want to bring it up with you, but no, I talk about it all the time.
This is important.
Yeah, we have to.
If we don't bring attention to this, if we don't try to show people the truth about it, then the more people that know, the more accountability there will be.
Right.
And people need to know the truth about what happened and the families that affected.
Right.
Because like I said, you have to realize there is a human in that uniform. I always go back to a quote that I heard that, whenever a truck full of soldiers get blown up, no one bats an eye because it's part of the plan. But sitting here talking about it, knowing it affected another American family, it puts it in a different perspective that really hits home with people and they can understand.
Right. Right.
What are some things you guys have been doing to honor Staff Sergeant Taylor
Hoover? You're good. So we actually have the Staff Sergeant Darren Taylor Hoover Memorial Foundation. We do a 5K every year
in Arkansas.
In Arkansas, yes. And we raise money for scholarships and for service dogs. Our first service dog actually came out of West Plains.
Really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
And went to Tyler Andrews. Like I said, he was probably the last person that talked to my brother while he was alive. And so that was the least we could do for him, is give him a dog. And
that's awesome.
He loves that dog. Currently have 2 dogs in training for vets. One's a Vietnam vet, and the other one is my brother's best friend growing up. It's her husband. He was a Marine. We do that. And we, here in Missouri last year, my husband put on a shoot that raised a good amount of money.
Good.
He's thinking about putting on a car show as well. So
when he does that, he'll have to come on and promote it that way.
I know, yeah, for sure. But yeah, that's what we do. And then, I'm always on social media sharing about him, sharing stories about him.
Where can they find you?
Just Tori Manning.
Okay.
Yeah.
Facebook?
Yep. Facebook, social media, or Instagram. I can't remember what my name is on there, but it's linked to my Facebook.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the only reason I keep social media for my brother. If it weren't for him, I'd be off of it. I don't.
It's turned into quite the thing.
Overwhelming.
It is.
But yeah.
But it's the benefit of it is, in today's day and age, you are able to tell your story to millions of people for the simple fact that you can go onto that platform and share it and people see it. And that it is a beautiful thing that's come out of it. With all the bad that's come out of it, that is a good thing. Used to, back in like even the 90s, the only time people would hear from you is if a newspaper or a
I
TV,
know.
would come up to you
know.
and give you the
It's like,
opportunity.
how did we live that way?
Exactly. Yeah. It's a different world, ain't it?
Yeah.
And I remember just from when we were kids
Mhm.
how different the world was. Like, we didn't grow up with it. I had a flip phone until I went into the
I
military
know.
at 20.
Or like the little sliding chocolate bar phones.
Oh, those
yeah.
were those were the
Those were the thing.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
were. They
Yeah.
had the whole type thing
Uh-huh.
on it. Another thing you guys are doing is you've got some coin maids that you have for sale, right?
Mhm.
Here, I'll let you show that if you want.
All right.
And,
This is so it's my brother's coin. I actually pretty much
it's a
designed.
beautiful coin.
I pretty much designed the whole thing. So on the back, my brother was very into Viking. I mean, yeah. Most military guys are, but he was like really into
loved
it.
it,
Would
huh?
always draw symbols like on
Mhm.
his notebooks and stuff. But we got one of his notebooks back from his like in his stuff in his pack, and it had this Viking compass on it, and it basically like represents like never getting lost or whatnot, but also he wrote it because there was another, and I know why he wrote it was because it represented like invincibility.
Mhm.
And my brother, I did always think he was invincible, but obviously we're all human. So, but yeah, and then it's got his motto is movement is life. And then it's got his picture on here, and this picture here actually was taken on the boat before he went to Afghanistan. And then you got the ravens here down at the bottom. Yeah, it's pretty neat.
It's a beautiful coin.
And it's a heavy coin.
It
It
is.
is really
It
heavy. It's awesome.
It's a thing of beauty. Yeah, that thing is awesome.
Yeah, it's definitely him for sure.
If someone wanted to get one, where would they be able to get one
Yeah,
from?
you go to the Staff Sergeant Taylor Hoover Memorial.org. It's got his story on there, but it's also we've got shirts, hats, coins, and I think dog tags as well on there. So, yeah.
Well, Tori, thank you so much for coming on and telling your story.
Yeah.
If you ever want to come back on and talk about it some more, I would love to have you.
Oh,
I
heck
mean,
yeah.
I think this is something that people need to hear.
Oh,
People
yeah.
need to know the story.
For sure.
Before we wrap up, anything you want to say to the people? Anything you want to tell them, a message, or what they can do to help with this accountability project?
Actually, I'm glad you said that. So the coalition meets with I don't know if you know Chairman McCall.
Mm-hmm.
He is the chairman of the House of Foreign Affairs. He has been leading the investigation. So CENTCOM did their investigation, which was all BS, of course, and then Congressman or McCall did his, his group did theirs, and that just came out the day before the gold medal was awarded.
Oh, so the investigation's out?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's actually out. I believe it's on the House of Foreign Affairs.gov.
Okay. I'll find it and I'll post a link
Yeah.
in our bio here. That way they can just click on it.
Yeah. Now there is still some missing parts.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot that they still need to investigate, but it'll tell you in there that they knew down to the minute that guy was going to be there.
And did nothing.
Yeah, and did nothing. But read the report. My parents said in the press conference, read the report. I mean, yeah, it's 300 pages long, but
it's worth it.
It's worth reading.
Yes.
If you have kids in the military, like you need to understand what they're fully getting into.
Yes. And the people that are in charge of their lives.
Yeah, and this isn't like back in the 90s. Yeah, there was their problems then too, but this, you've got cowards running the military right now. Our military is the weakest it's ever been, and
we're seeing that from all the geo wars getting popped off everywhere.
Yeah,
and that's scary.
Yeah, and and even the guys that are still in the military are like, holy crap, like I don't trust anything.
Yeah,
and which they shouldn't.
No,
after Afghanistan, they how could you?
You bring up a good point. I would like, before we wrap up, I would like to hit on this. Is your your sons and daughters, they enlist, they go over there and they're fighting for a noble cause for America, the Sons of Liberty. That's what they are. And after Afghanistan, anyone in the military right now is thinking, does my leadership have my back? Do they have my best interests at heart? And is my life safe in their hands? And that's a scary thing to wonder about leadership, especially in such an important job and task as the United States military.
Right.
That I just wanted to put that out there because it's true.
It is true, very true. But no, read the report. Like you have to fully understand what is going on in our government, and it's evil. It's corrupt. The rest of the world knows that.
Yeah.
But our country doesn't seem to wake up to that.
Some people
fact.
like to put blinders on and act like everything's good.
Yeah, I don't get it. But yeah, if you got kids thinking about going into the military, definitely read that. I'm not going to discourage anybody from going in the military. I was in the military. I'm not coming from that standpoint. I'm just coming from, the outsider looking in. My brother for the longest time said, the Marine Corps has changed.
It's corporatized.
Yes.
That's the thing about what I hear. My buddy, I've got a few buddies that are still in, and they're like, it's a corporation now. It's not the military. It's all about DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. It's about making sure you don't say the wrong. Our military should be the one thing that is abstained from all that because you have the structure, you have the discipline, and they are there to do a job.
Exactly.
Let's leave our military alone.
Exactly. And it just, definitely look into that. Read it. I mean, get a hold of your congressman. Push them to fight this. We need all the backing that we can get because there's nothing. I mean, nobody, Kamala and Biden
that's a blight on their term. So they're obviously going to sweep it under the rug because if they talk about it, then they admit to it.
Right.
By just giving it life.
Right. Exactly.
They're the ones responsible.
Yeah, exactly. They don't even mention their names. I mean,
that's got to be sickening.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's just disgusting. It's hard to deal with sometimes.
I understand.
And it's too much.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
For the courage, for the bravery, for just the strength to come on here and talk about it. I know it's got to be hard. And God bless you. God bless your family. Anything you guys need, I'm there. I'm sure a lot of people feel the same way. You've got a big support group here. So anything you guys need, seriously, reach out.
Thank you. Yeah. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Guys, this has been the episode today. Please go to the link, help any way you can, get active, get in, help with that coalition where you can. Call your congressman, call your Senate, call your state Senate. Everything helps. The more backing they have on this, which is needed, it's an accountability project. And you guys know how I feel about accountability. But thank you for coming on. God bless, and cheers, guys.